Arun, were you able to watch any of this Wizards game?
The Pistons. Yeah, I caught the highlights and of the win. You mean? Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah. They Denny had a really good game, and Gafford got to the rim. The Pistons have continued to struggle. So the battle for the worst team in the East, the Wizards won the game, and Denny was pretty good. Jordan Poole struggled, I believe, but Kuzma had a pretty good game with 32 points, and yeah, it's like overall good for the Wizards to get a win. They even dominated in garbage time, and they have the best garbage time lineup. And this time the Wizards had a comfortable lead, and they didn't let it go. And Tyus Jones also had a decent game with 12 points and 4 assists. And win is a win against the Pistons. They hired Monty Williams, I believe, like something like $8 million a year, and they have a worse record than the Wizards. So not sometimes hiring a new head coach is not always like the best thing. And the Pistons are one of the worst teams. They've been tanking for 5 years, and Kuzma was the difference in this game. They have a veteran like him, and the Pistons are still rebuilding, and the Wizards are the beginning of their rebuild as well.
Yeah, I guess this is the one downside is if you're trying to out lose the Pistons in the tanking, I guess you failed in the first attempt. But I'm happy that
A lot
they
of
actually
four
got a
teams have the same lottery odds. That's more just like
yeah.
consolation game, so it
That's
doesn't
that's
really matter.
That's true. And we were just talking about how I don't like games that don't matter at all. So I am happy that the Wizards are able to put together a good win. So they outscored them by 4 in the first. Um, Actually, the Pistons outscored the Wizards in the second, but then the Wizards put together a 37-point third quarter and held the Pistons to 29. And then they also scored 32 in the fourth and held the Pistons to 24. So they kind of pulled away there again, 126 to 107. And as Arun was talking, Kyle Kuzma had a good game, and they had 6 players, I think. Was it 6 or 7?
Seven,
Seven
seven.
players in double digits. Yeah. So that is good. Champ, what are some of your thoughts on this game?
We finally got to see the Wizards actually play a complete game, actually. And as we mentioned earlier on, Robbie, they didn't choke this one away. They actually led and they stayed in the lead and they played ahead and they did what they had to do against a team that was just as bad as they are. I mean, the Detroit Pistons are a terrible team, period. And they were able to do what they needed to do in Detroit. They shot from almost 51% from the field. They shot almost 35% from beyond the arc. Kyle Kuzma went off. Kyle Kuzma had 32 points. He had a double-double, 32 points and 12 rebounds. So he did his thing. Denny did his thing with 16 points. I mean, everybody contributed in this game, and it was a really, really great game for the Wizards. And it's crazy because last week's podcast, I was generous in giving them a 2-2 week. And yet this was the only win that they were able to muster this week. But it was a really impactful win for the Wizards because they went into enemy territory and was able to absolutely do what they needed to do as a team and be able to win on the road and absolutely have great offensive success, having 7 players in double figures. So a great win by the Wizards. Great win.
Yeah. Let's go back to the beginning of the week. We thought that they could win through the bookend games. They unfortunately did not beat the Hornets. It was a close game, but Charlotte outscored them 39 to 23 in the fourth, which ended up being the difference in this game as they only won by 3 points. I'll start off with you, Ken. What were some of your thoughts on this one?
I mean, the Hornets, their record doesn't reflect how talented they are. And the fact that, again, this was another game where they kind of choked away the win. The Hornets were down by 19 at one point, and they were able to rally back to be able to win this game. And I think that's a big testament to the talent that this team has. LaMelo Ball had 34 points and 13 assists. He had a double-double in this game. Kuzma also had a double-double with 28 and 10 assists. So this was one of those games where it could have gone either way. Unfortunately, it did not go the way of the Wizards. And that was one of the things that I was very concerned about, especially because I thought that the games against the Bucks and the Hornets, the Bucks and Atlanta were going to be the ones we're going to lose. I did not think we were going to lose this game, but yet we did lose this game. But it was very, very close for a lot of this game.
It's coming a little bit of a rivalry between these two teams. They seem to play each other pretty tough. A lot of them have been pretty close. Arun, what are some of your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, right now the Hornets have won 2 of the last 3 games, but I guess the last 2 games have been close, but the Wizards had big leads and they kind of gave them up in both their losses, and they couldn't really slow down LaMelo Ball, and uh, they that's like 117 points, and just giving up that many points in the fourth quarter. There's some bad late game execution, but Jordan Poole kind of struggled in this one as well. And yeah, the Hornets are not that good, but neither the Wizards, and they can't afford to let their gas off the pedal. And maybe some of the rotations were bad, but there's the Wizards are still coming together with all the new pieces that they have with the team.
Yeah, there's some rough stuff going on between Tom Wilson and one of the Sharks players. Unfortunately, the Caps did not score on the power play, and but there's a lot of chirping going back and forth right now. It all becomes a huge hit down low, but it was a very clean hit. He hit him right in the chest, but he went flying and down to the ice. And so Tom Wilson is, of course, being Tom Wilson, and telling him how much he owned him with that hit. But yeah, no score still so far in this game. All right, going back to the basketball. Unfortunately, they lost that game that we thought they would to the Bucks, but it was actually closer than I thought it was going to be. Pretty close game all the way through. The Wizards outscored them by 1 in the first. They were tied in scoring in the second. In the third, the Bucks outscored them by 4. And the Wizards had this. They both scored 39 points in the fourth quarter, and the Milwaukee Bucks only won by 3 points. I mean, it was a pretty close game back and forth throughout the game. I'm pretty impressed with our ability to play a really good game. If you look at the Wizards here, I mean, they had 4 players that scored more than 20 points: Kuzma, Jordan Poole, Jones, and Corey Kispert. So just overall, I thought it was a pretty good game, especially on the road in one of these tournament games. Ken, what were some of your thoughts?
I mean, Brook Lopez went off on this game. He had 39 points coming from the center position. Dame Damian Lillard had 31 points, and Giannis had 31 as well. So their top 3 players had big points when it came to this game, whereas on the Wizards side, they had 6 players in double figures. So they had the offense, but they just didn't have the defense to be able to stop one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. So it was a tough loss for the Wizards to have to play the Bucks this close and only lose by 3 points. They could have easily have won this game, but unfortunately, the offensive input from the top 3 players on the Bucks team was more than enough to be able to give the Bucks the victory on this one. And like the Wizards were already eliminated from the in-season tournament, but this one made them 0-4 in the tournament and really made it a no doubt that they're not going to even be a factor in this tournament.
Yeah, it's interesting because those 3 players combined for 101 points, which is only 27 less points than the Wizards scored in the entire roster. So it's pretty impressive for 3 players to all put up over 30 points in a game. Arun, what were some of your thoughts on it?
Yeah, the Wizards they played about as well as they could offensively. Like the Bucks, as Ken mentioned, they had 3 guys with 30 plus points. But the Bucks are supposed to be a championship contender, and they kind of like traded their future for Dame Lillard. So it was kind of impressive that the Wizards were able to keep it this close. Granted, Gafford probably could have done a better job guarding Brook Lopez out on the perimeter, and down low, but because he had 39 points. But overall, Jordan Poole probably with his best game of the season with 25, or 7 assists, and like that was a pretty good game for him. They just couldn't get over the hump, and the Bucks are, I think, they're one of the best teams in the East, and the Wizards, they really weren't set up. If Kyle Kuzma was your best player, and they played like them to 3 points, and even in the game I went to, like it was a 1 point game going into the fourth quarter, so the Wizards kind of got a rhythm against the Bucks, like in that game, even though they lost in the fourth quarter. It's good that they had some confidence and played some decent ball through stretches of this game.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Capitals just got called for tripping. So San Jose is now on the power play, but it's just a frustrating call because I think that if anything, I think they took our player down. But what a great defensive play to get over because the goalie was out of position. 126 left in the power play. I'm asking the Caps roundtable if they think that was a trip. But yeah, it was an interesting week for sure. Let's get into that last game just real fast, which is the Hawks game. I didn't expect it to get blown out this badly. It was pretty close at the end of the first, 34-30. But unfortunately in the second they outscored us 36-28. In the third they blew us out 37-20. And then it was pretty close in the fourth, but it was garbage time at that point. They blew us out 136-108. Yeah, Trae Young and DeAndre Hunter both scored over 20 in this one. A lot of other players scored in double digits. The Wizards just didn't have enough scoring. A lot of players in double digits, but just didn't have that one player to like really match up and put like a big number on the board. But Ken, what are some of your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, 7 players scoring double figures in this game, but yet no one scored over 12 points. You're not going to win many NBA games when no one scores over 12 points in a game.
I think Butler may have scored 13. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Butler was the only one that scored over 12 points. But again, when you have only one player score over 12 points and you have 7 players in double figures, but no one else scores over 12 points, you're not going to win many games. You're not going to win it. And then when you can't play defensively enough to keep very skilled players from scoring over 20, like over that number, and have a couple score over 20 points, you're not going to win many games. And the problem is also you had Gallinari. He rested on this game because it was a back-to-back. I knew that Washington was not going to win this game because of the fact it was off a back-to-back where they were on the road in Milwaukee and then they came home to Washington. So I knew that this was going to be a game that they were not going to win. But not only did they not win, they absolutely got smoked by Atlanta. And it's crazy to think about that, the Wizards are just that bad as a team in what is a not so strong conference, and yet this was their 9th straight loss. By the way, this was their 9th straight loss going into coming out of this game with Trae Young going with a double. It was not pretty. It was not pretty at all, and that's there's nothing more to say about this.
Yeah, Arun, any final thoughts on that one?
Yeah, the Hawks are kind of like coming into this game. They had put up 152 and 147 points in back-to-back games. So, and the Wizards are coming off a game the previous night, whereas the Hawks didn't play the night before. So it's going to be tough. And Jordan Poole also missed this game with a knee injury. Koulibaly missed the game on Friday, but even without Jordan Poole, maybe their defense was better at time at stretches, but as Ken alluded to, they didn't really have anybody who could fill it up on the offensive end. And Atlanta, they may not be great, but they're 8-7 as it stands, and they look like they'll be in the playoff picture. Whereas the Wizards, they were shorthanded, and while they played well against the Bucks, they didn't really play well against Atlanta, and they're also missing Gallinari. Probably hurt their depth, and their defense was worse. In granted, Atlanta's top offensive team, but giving up 136 points is probably almost always going to result in a loss.
I'm looking here at this stat line right down here. The turnovers, they doubled us up. We had 20 turnovers and they only had 9. And so if you convert 10 turnovers, let's say, into a bucket, each, that's a difference of 20 points, which isn't everything here, but it definitely would make a significant progress in helping them. So they were out rebounded and basically didn't. The other team had 13 steals, so talk about turning those into points. I was actually impressed with their points in the paint, though. It's pretty even, but just overall, just giving the Hawks too many opportunities. Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule. Here, they've got a 2 games in Orlando. They play on Wednesday and Friday, both down there, both 7:00 games. And then next week, they'll play the 76ers live on air during our podcast. Oh, wait. Am I reading this wrong? I am. So they play... Oh, they have a week off. Wait, I thought they played some of the in-game tournament games that week. Does it not get posted? I'm so confused.
What it looks like from the schedule is that after we play the Magic on the 1st of December, we have 10 days off before we play the 76ers.
But I thought that while the in-game tournament is going on for the other ones, that we play one of the other loser bracket teams. So maybe that's not announced yet?
Yeah, probably not. I don't know, but it looks like from the schedule is that after we play the Magic on the 1st, we're off for 10 days.
Yeah, I think that because they did talk about how during the tournament, the teams that don't make the tournament, the other rounds will play each other, so that way that they all have the same number of games at the end of the season. So I don't know when those get scheduled and for what time, but anyway, we'll talk about the 2 Magic games, and then next week we'll probably know more on the rest of the schedule. But I guess on my birthday episode, we will have the 76ers on live during that one. But I guess we'll break down the Magic. You can choose the Magic or more Magic. But Ken, which one would you like to choose?
I'll choose the Magic.
There you go.
Okay, so we're playing the Magic 2 times in 3 nights, both in Orlando. I mean, the Magic, they're actually second in the East right now. So they're actually playing very well. Paolo Banchero, who is a forward for the Magic, is currently averaging almost 20 points a game for them. So this is going to be one of those games where they need to play as hard and as tough as they played the Milwaukee Bucks this past week if they're going to beat them. I think that if they can play them as tough as they played the Magic, maybe they can come out with a split. Maybe they come out with a split. But let's focus on Wednesday. Maybe they come out with some fire on Wednesday. They just beat the Detroit Pistons. They absolutely own the Detroit Pistons on the road. Maybe they go on the road and they beat the Orlando Magic on Wednesday. We'll have to see. But that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they maybe split the this Wednesday, Friday road game with the Magic.
I was looking ahead over here to different groups in the in-season tournament, and it looks like some of them haven't played their 4th game yet. So my guess is that once they play their 4th game and they know where the final seeding is on that, then they'll announce the other games. But just to hazard a guess, because I feel like you wouldn't want us to play the game so much later than the other team. And I believe that week is when they have the in-season tournament knockout round games. So, but we'll have more to talk about that next week. But Arun, what are your thoughts on the Magic and more Magic?
Yeah, the Magic will probably beat the Wizards twice. They're 12-5. They won 7 games in a row. They beat the Celtics by 17, and the Celtics are the best team in the East. So I'd be kind of surprised if the Wizards got a win. It'd be definitely their best win of the season if they beat Orlando. And Orlando, yes, they've been traditionally bad, but their rebuild looks like it's taking hit. Like Paulo Banchero, he was on Duke, and he's coming into his own. Franz Wagner, he's one of the best young players. He's German. He's the brother of Mo Wagner, who was on the Wizards, and I think he's on the Magic now. So looks like Orlando and Jalen Suggs is having an incredible year, and they're playing really good defense. So I think Orlando's going to win both these games.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see. I do unfortunate to say that San Jose did score a goal there at the 10:23 mark. 7:53 left in the first period. They're now down 1-0. Both teams have 9 shots on goal. The Bears are up now. Just won the game. 12-10 over the Vikings. So everyone in our pick'em got it wrong. And we all me Dujunnea stay tied at the top. Yeah, first team to win without scoring a touchdown this season. All teams were 0-28 without scoring a touchdown this year. If they didn't score a touchdown. So interesting fact there in that one. So yeah, what a horrible game. But it is what it is. And they won it. The Suck Bowl, 12-9. Or 12-10, I'm sorry. Gotta give them that extra point. All right. So I guess we've covered the Wizards. And we've covered, I think, all of the different sports that I was gonna cover tonight. Again, the Capitals are down 1-0. But I'll let people go and watch that. Arun, any thoughts on any of the different DC sports or anything else that you want to share before we end the show?
No, not really. It was good going to the. I didn't bring it up. It's good going to the Caps game with you like 10 days ago.
Oh yeah.
And then it was good going to the Wizards game, even though I was pretty sure the Wizards going to lose. It was still fun to actually go to a basketball game, and I think they played better than normal. And it was good that the Caps continued their winning streak when me and Robbie showed up. I think they're undefeated in our only appearance. But
yes, that's true. We're 1-0. So I appreciate you coming out, and I'll definitely be inviting you guys to both my birthday party in person. There'll be a hockey game on. And then also on the podcast after on that Monday, you guys are both welcome. I'm gonna try to get Tim to come over. I know that one might be tough because it's a Monday night, but it should be a fun couple of weeks. These next couple of weeks, I am excited for the Capitals, even though they are down 1-0 to one of the worst teams in the NHL right now. But it happens. There's still a lot of hockey left to be played in this one. But Arun, I had so much fun catching my first hockey game with you 10 days ago. That was a lot of fun, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you maybe sometime in the next couple of weeks. But I hope that you have are you doing any Hey Arun podcasts coming up?
Yeah, I think I'll come up with another one, moratorium on one of my fantasy football seasons, and maybe in Brian's league, I'm going for missing the playoffs but having the most points in fantasy in that league. So that'll be like there are 2 more weeks to go. I could still make the playoffs, but I could get the most points, so that'd be more incredible than winning the league. I feel like.
So you could have the most points, but lose every week just because of matchups. Is that what the issue is?
Yeah, just was because of like some other team had the most points. I have like the second or third most points right now, but just
Wow.
I've been getting unlucky the last couple. Tim had a really good week against me, and so Tim might make the playoffs over me, even though he has like 300 less points than me. So it'll be pretty funny. But I won like the league 2 years in a row, so somebody else is bad. It's like kind of like the karma is trying to let somebody else win. I feel like.
That's funny. All right. Well, I hope that you have a good week in fantasy, and we'll definitely talk to you next week.
Sure. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So I can't do any sort of thing with your Facebook. I was gonna say I was so excited to see you on Facebook doing your show. I know that there's been a ton of wrestling news. Let me change the graphics real quickly. But let people know all the latest wrestling thing. I mean, we talked about CM Punk a little bit earlier, or at least Hurt alluded to it when you were coming on. What are your thoughts on the return of CM Punk and an exciting card this past week that you covered live on air?
I mean, no one there's a saying in wrestling that never say never, and no one ever really thought that CM Punk would return to WWE after almost 10 years away, after he walked away from WWE in 2014, the day after Royal Rumble. But yet he showed up in Chicago at Survivor Series and absolutely upstaged the return of Randy Orton, who's been gone for a year and a half due to a back injury. And it's just absolutely incredible that CM Punk has been able to get over the issues that he's had with not only Triple H, but just with the company itself, to be able to come back and be a part of this company. Like, I'm currently watching Raw right now. Like, I'm watching on a bit of a delay, so I'm trying to see what CM Punk's going to say and everything like that. But it's incredible to think about the fact that CM Punk has come back to the very company that he said he would never come back to. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And not only that, but AEW is doing a round robin tournament known as the Continental Classic on their shows, and then at the same time, New Japan is doing their annual World Tag League, which has been absolutely interesting and absolutely crazy to follow as well. So if you're tuning in to the No Spots podcast this coming weekend, this is going to be on Sunday, we're going to have a lot to talk about when it comes to World Tag League, what happened with CM Punk being back in WWE, everything that happened with Survivor Series. Make sure you check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod, and make sure you check out us on audio platforms, Spotify and Amazon Music for those podcasts.
Yeah, I'm doing the command. People can just click the heart button right now, and you can also find out more about Champ there. But yeah, it's crazy with the CM Punk story. It was funny. I saw on one of the Facebook groups, one guy who had this great afro said he would shave his head if Punk showed back up tonight. And then I saw in the comments a picture of him with shaved head. I don't know if it's AI or Photoshop or whatever, but I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, it seemed to surprise a lot of people and kind of upstaged a little bit of what was going on that night. I'm excited to see him back. I think that there's a lot of rivalries, especially maybe with Rollins and a lot of things that they can now do with bringing him back. Yeah, I can't believe it's been that long. It doesn't feel like it's been that long because he's just always in the news, but it'll be interesting to see what happens next with that storyline. But definitely everyone go check out the No Spots podcast, sportsothp.com. Click the podcast partners button. You can get the No Spots podcast there. You can also get the Power Play Point podcast also, and Dujonnea's show as well, the Not Bland. So 3 podcasts on tonight that you can catch all their latest episodes on the website. I will clip this up for YouTube. I am very salty about Facebook. We will see. Carol's wanted to move away from Facebook.
Facebook is real. Facebook is very real, weird. They're very weird.
Yeah, it is a strange company. It's messed up CP3 for a long time. We haven't liked it for a long time, but we have a big group over there, and I want to get people's thoughts and get people's questions. And maybe I shared to the wrong group. I don't know, but it's frustrating because we've been over there for 8 years and I've never gotten a dime. And they were like, I think they just want to basically screw over people who don't want to pay for their booths. And I refuse to give them a dime. I'm not going to do it. And if people have to come over to Twitch or watch me later on YouTube, then so be it. But I might actually start doing a live broadcast over to YouTube. We'll see if that might be the way to go. But it's Facebook is on my shit list for sure. But I thank you everyone for tuning in on Twitch and checking us out after the fact. And I may clip up some parts of this and share it later. But Champ, you're awesome as always. I am going to end the audio podcast here. And luckily
I'm just gonna say Nokigenyo sayonara because I have to go to the restroom.
Yes, go for it. All right, thank you, Champ. I appreciate it. All right, we're gonna stop that audio recording there. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. I will try to still get this up at the normal time. But DC Sports Without the Politics, Sports on the Hill podcast. You can check us out on all the different platforms. And yeah, it's been a fun show. A lot of great people on. Thank you to Hurt and to Dujunnea and to Champ and to Arun. Also, thank you to the Hockey Roundtable. You know, it was fun to have Casey back on, C4, and Gil as well. So a great show. Catch all of them, all their information, all of that is in the notes. You can catch all the latest episodes on the website. We posted on the website about a week later, but you can always get the YouTube stuff on our YouTube channel the next day, as well as on all the audio podcast platforms within 24 to 48 hours. So appreciate everyone for tuning in and rocking with us these 8 years. We got 2 shows left before we take our break. Appreciate it, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Recording stopped.
All right, with that, I think we're going to do a quick little raid over to KR Acoustic. And hope that you guys all enjoyed the show. I'm going to just start that raid right now. Sub raid if you're still in chat. And here are the raid calls for that. And yeah, I don't have any other news other than I appreciate everyone for being a part of this. And we will see you guys all next week. Again, be our last football show. We'll talk a little hockey and a little basketball. And then the following week, we'll have a little birthday celebration. It might be a little bit of a shorter show. We may have guests in studio. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys soon. Hope you guys all have a good one.